This video is going to cover the Equations and Inequalities Rise Review assignment. If you have any questions, feel free to jump around in this video. It does go sequentially through the assignment, so I start with questions similar to number 1 and make my way through. I do skip any duplicates, so the examples may not be 100% one for one. So let's go ahead and get started. You'll definitely want a calculator for this assignment. Feel free to use the scientific calculator link on Canvas or your own, or however you want to. So question number 1 asks us to solve. They actually almost all are going to ask me to solve. When I find my equal sign, I'm going to draw a line down it, identifying both of my sides. I identify what variable I want by itself. I'm going to solve for W. And now I'm going to focus on getting rid of these two things that are on the same side. Remember to work backwards and work farthest away from my variable to closest. So minus 13 is is farthest away, so I'm going to get rid of it first. I always use opposite operations to get rid of things. So to get rid of subtraction, we're going to add. To get rid of division, we're going to multiply, and vice versa. So those go back and forth. So to get rid of negative 13, or minus 13 rather, I'm going to add 13. Now remember, if I add it to one side, equations are things that need to remain equal, kind of like a balancing scale. So I'm going to add 13 to the other side. Now total everything up. 13 plus 13 is 26. I bring down my equal sign. I copy and paste this W over 4 down, and negative 13 and plus 13 gives me a big fat 0, so I don't need to write it anymore. Now that I'm to this point, I know I need to get rid of 4. It is being divided, division. This fraction bar acts as division. The opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to times by the thing that I'm dividing by. So I'm going to times by 4. And if I do it on one side, I'm going to do it on the other. And we're going to simplify. So 4 times 26 is 104. Equals, when I times and divide something at the same time, it gives me 1, which in this case cancels out. W is the same or is equal to 104. Now you can write your answer like this, or 1 equals 104. Either way works. Okay, let's start a second problem. So solve for y. Draw my line down my equal sign. Here's my variable. Which is further, the 5 or the 8? 43 is on the other side. Don't worry about 43. But 8's further away, so opposite of adding is subtraction. I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. Total everything up. 43 minus 8 is 35. Equals 5y. Now sometimes people, what does 5y even mean? What's the opposite of 5y? Remember, y is the same as 5 times y. So to undo multiplication, we're going to use division. So we're going to divide by what we are multiplying by on both sides. And what do I end up with? 35 divided by 5 is 7, and 5 divided by 5 cancels out. So 7 equals y, or y equals 7. Solving a new equation, draw my line down my equal sign. Now I need to get rid of this negative and the 64. Now, negative is not a number, so remember that if you see a negative, it's the same as negative 1. So to decide what to get rid of, I decide to get rid of plus 64 first, because it's the further away. So I'm going to minus 64 from both sides. Some calculator might be handy. So 231 minus 64. 231 minus 64 is 167. Negative 1w. Now I've not eliminated everything I need to until I get rid of this negative 1. Remember, negative 1w is the same as negative 1 times w. So to undo it, I'm going to divide. And I get negative 167 is equal to w, or vice versa, w equals negative 167. I'm going to draw my line down my equal sign before I do anything. Now, to get started, I say that you always have to get rid of whatever is furthest away from my variable. So here's my variable. I need to get rid of 2, 5, and 3. So I need to get rid of this 3. Now, to get rid of it, the simplest way is to distribute it or multiply it, because that's what 3 next to a parentheses means. Multiply it inside. So 3 times 2 is 6v. 3 times 5 is 15. Bring down my equal sign, bring down 33. Subtract 15 on both sides. I am going to get a total of 6v is equal to 18. And use a calculator if that's not a really easy mental math. I probably would. Oops. Okay, now I just wrote something absent-mindedly that I'm just going to pause and make sure. Notice I wrote divide by 18, but am I trying to get rid of 18? Is that what is with my variable? And the answer is no. So rewind. Okay, now that I'm thinking, I need to get v by itself. I need to undo timesing by 6, so I'm going to divide by 6. And I get v is equal to 3. Draw my line down my equal sign. Now, I always say that I need to get rid of whatever is further away from v first, but I notice that there's 2 of them. So before I can get rid of whatever's farthest away, I need to make sure that I only have 1 v. So I'm going to start by combining my like terms. This is 1v, and I have 8v for a total of, I just add 1 and 8 for 9. v equals 45. Now, the only thing I need to get rid of is this 9. It's multiplying, so I'm going to divide. I get v is equal to 5. Okay, next one. Draw my line down my equal sign. Now, I want to compare the last one to this one. On the last one, I had 2 variables on the same side and I just added them together. On this one, if I connect those 2, you notice that I'm connecting across my equal sign. That is a no-no. Do not combine across an equal sign. But I also can't have 2 variables. I need only 1 variable to answer this question. So what do? Well, the answer is move all of your variables to one side. Get rid of them off of one side. So when I look at both sides, I always look for the bigger variable. So 15 is bigger than 8. And I make this my variable side and I make this my number side. So I would get rid of adding 8v by subtracting 8v. That gets rid of my variable on the left-hand side and leaves only the 63. So 8 minus 8 is 0. 63 is equal to 15 minus 8 is 7v. This is multiplication. To get v by itself, we divide. So 63 divided by 7 is 9. So 9 is equal to v, or v equals 9, however you want to think about that. So let's look at another one. So draw my line down my equal sign. This time I have 3 w's. Consider which ones are on the same side and which ones are not. These are on the same side, so go ahead and combine them. That's okay. 7 plus 2 is 9w. And I bring this directly down, and just to make sure I have a complete line, I bring down this side over here. Now I notice that there's an equal sign or a barrier between the 6 and the 9w that are on both sides. So I'm not going to just combine them, but I'm going to choose a variable side. So 9 is bigger than 6, so I'm going to make this a side where I bring all my variables, and this is a side where I take all my numbers. So if the right side is my variable side, I don't want plus 6w, so I'm going to minus 6w. Notice that I'm putting the w on top. I'm stacking the w's. I'm not putting 6w over here underneath the 13. So I'm going to total everything up. That's gone. I am left with 14 is equal to 3w minus 13. And then I'm going to, since this is my variable side, get rid of anything that doesn't have a variable. This is minusing 13, so I'm going to add 13. Total everything up. I get 27 is equal to 3w. I'm going to get w by itself by dividing because that's multiplication. and I'm left with w is equal to 9. A lot of 9s on this problem. Okay, again, draw my line down my equal sign, distribute. So because I always need to have both sides simplified. Now pick your bigger variable side. Now one thing I want to point out is the positive 3 is bigger than negative 8, so I make this my variable side, this my number side. I also want to point out is if you chose the other way around, you're not going to get the wrong answer. The reason why I pick the side that I do to make my variable, collect all my variables, is because I don't like negative numbers and it prevents me from getting those. So if this is my variable side, get rid of this minus, there's negative 8, this minus 8v by adding, and notice I'm stacking v's and v's and v's and v's. This is gone. 3 plus 8 is 11. Now I'm going to stop right here. I made a mistake, and so I want you to take a second and see if you found where it was. Okay, now some of you are telling me right now, I hope, that I forgot to distribute this 3 to this 5. I absent-mindedly just copied this down. Make sure you multiply. That's one thing that I have noticed as a common mistake for students. We kind of absent-mindedly forget to do things sometimes. So 3 times 5 is 15. All right, bringing down everything now that I've got everything correct. So minus 15 is equal to 40. Solve by adding 15 to both sides. And I end up with 11v is equal to 55. Divide by 11, and I end up with v is equal to 5. I'm going to just continue to work my way through them. So variables are all over here, so I can combine. I cannot combine anything inside and outside of a parentheses, so I have to distribute first before I can combine. 7v minus 14, bring down the plus 8v equals 16. Now that there's no parentheses, I can combine. 15v minus 14 equals 16. Draw my line down my equal sign. Here's v, get rid of whatever's further away. So add 14. 15v is equal to 30. Divided by 15, v equals 2. Now on this next set of problems, and you'll notice this on your assignment, there's 2 boxes and then there's no solution, w, and all real numbers. This is multiple choice. Only one of these answers is going to apply. And only if I click the w equals do I have to come up with a number answer. So how do I come up with anything other than no solution or all real numbers? How do I even do that? I'm going to show you by working our way through this huge problem. So I'm going to start by drawing my line down my equal sign and always distributing first. So I would just put my symbols underneath because I ran out of room. So 4w plus 4 plus w is equal to 3 times w is 3w. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 plus 2. Then I'm going to simplify both sides. I notice that I have like terms over here. W and 1w makes 5w. Bring down the plus 4 equals, these are my like terms on this side. They don't have w's. This is a negative 6 and a positive 2, so I have 3w minus 4. I draw my line down my equal sign and solve. So minus 3w minus 3w. I get 2w plus 4 is equal to negative 4. Still trying to get w by itself, so I end up with 2w is equal to negative 8. And last step, divide. So w equals negative 4. So the answer is not no solution. If you end up with a number, a variable, most importantly, then I'm going to choose this option, w equals negative 4. And it's not no solution, it's not all real numbers are solutions. Let's look at the second option. So let's draw this over here. So I have negative 3u plus 1 plus 7u equals, draw my line down my equal sign. Simplify both sides first. So distribution always comes first. Negative times a positive is a negative 3. Notice I don't bring that down. That negative 3 takes its place. Distribute 4u plus 4 minus 5. Now combine negative 3 and positive 7 is positive 4u. Bring that down. 4u, and these two combined give me negative 1. Now, when I get to this point, I notice that the variables are the same. There's not a bigger variable, so I can't just pick a variable side. I can just pick a variable side and go from there. So if this is my variable side, I'm going to get rid of 4u, total everything up, and I end up with negative 3 equals negative 1. Notice there is no u equals, so that option is out. I have between two options that are special solutions. Either no solution or all real numbers are solutions. Here's how I tell if they are different, meaning the two numbers that I have remaining are different, there's no solution. If they are the same, it is infinite solutions. So I end up with negative 3 equals negative 1, so that's no solutions. And also, if you get rid of the numbers first, you can also move the plus 3 instead and solve, but you will eventually end up with no variables left. Okay, now we're going to switch gears just slightly. If I have a problem like this is called an inequality, simply because this no longer is an equal sign. So to solve, I'm going to draw my line down my inequality, just like I did an equal sign, and I'm going to take the same steps, except for two cases, and I'll talk about those in just a second. So if I'm solving this, instead of, since this is plus 17, I'm going to minus 17 to eliminate that 17 on the same side as u, and I end up with u is greater than, bring down the same inequality, and 16 minus 17 is negative 1. And this is just my answer. If you decided to be like, oh, it's negative 1, and I'm just going to write it the other way, remember not to just leave that symbol the same. Remember, the alligator mouth is a comparison. The inequalities is a comparison. I need to make sure that comparison stays true. So the alligator mouth continues to eat the u. Let's look at a different one. So I mentioned that these are the same only for a special few cases, and if you haven't written this down or made a mental note, please make a mental note. If you, and that's a star for this is important, if you divide or multiply by a negative, my inequality, so this thing right here, is going to flip. It's going to change from greater than to less than. So as I look at this problem and I'm deciding what to do, this says times, so I'm going to divide by negative 5. And because I divided by negative, this sign's going to change from greater than to less than. Negative 20 divided by negative 5 is positive 4. This cancels out and I'm left with a u. Now, if you decide to write the variable first, remember to make the comparison stay true and that u is still being eaten by that greater than or equal to sign. Draw my line down my equal sign, solve. So here's x, get rid of the 8 first because it's further away. Negative 11 plus 8 is 3. Negative 3, pardon me. And I'm going to divide by 3. Now, pause for a second. Here's sometimes a place where it is kind of a stumbling block. I see this negative and I'm dividing. So sometimes people are like, hey, you flipped the sign. But please make sure you do not flip the sign unless that number in the denominator, the number you are dividing by, is negative. So my answer is negative 1. That symbol stays the same, x. So negative 1 is less than x, and I can flip that around if I want to. Just make sure the sign comes with it. Okay, 2 more. So let's solve these inequalities. Remember, these follow the same rule, so I draw my line down that inequality. Which variable is bigger? 4. Move the minus 3 by adding 3. I get 7y plus 2 is less than 30. Opposite of adding 2 is minusing 2. 7y is less than 28. I'm dividing by 7. Now remember, it's not all division, just dividing by negative that flips the sign, so this one stays the same. 7 is positive, y is less than 4. And last but not least, my inequality. So distribution, 10v plus 35 is greater than 2v plus 3, bigger variable, move the smaller one. So this was an addition, so I'm going to subtract. 10 minus 2 is 8. Whoops. Okay, don't be careful not to do this. I just made an equal sign there because I was not even thinking. So greater than 3. Draw my line down that symbol. Minus 35. Then I end up with 8v is equal to 32. Sorry, is greater than 32. Divide by 8, v is greater than 4. And that's it. Okay, so just to make sure that you don't get a problem wrong, by when you flip it or divide by a negative, you must flip the sign. If you multiply by a negative, same rule applies. You flip that inequality. Have a great day, and we will see you later.